Smaller class sizes lead to better student outcomes has become the mantra of the Ontario Teachers Federation, but according to the Centre for Public Education, academic research shows that smaller class sizes only have a measurable positive impact on students in grades K to 3. Beyond this early period, there is little, if any, connection between class size and student achievement. But despite what the research shows, students and teachers from across the province are up in arms over the Ontario PC government's new plans to increase the size of the average grade 4 to 8 class from 23 to 24 and the average high school class from 22 to 28, among other things. So this plan will phase out nearly 3,500 teaching positions over the next 4 years in an effort to save the province $851 million over the same period. So the OTF, bearing in mind that their primary goal is to defend teaching jobs, have argued this destructive plan will be devastating for students and will pull thousands of teachers and support staff out of our schools, providing less individual support for students. The Ford government, bearing in mind that their promise is to cut deficits and balance the budget, argue that larger class sizes will better prepare students for post-secondary education while cutting unnecessary costs. However, it turns out both sides are wrong. The fact is that these projected averages are in line with what research shows. Smaller class sizes only have a measurable positive impact on students in grades K to 3, which the Ontario government has already said that they wouldn't be touching. But province-wide averages don't give us the full picture. What really matters is whether the government can ensure the average is reflected at the local level, which right now they are not. So let me elaborate a little. The figures used by the PCs are calculated based on the total numbers of students and classrooms across the province. But A, Ontario's population is not even close to being evenly distributed, and B, these averages include special needs in rural classrooms. So while the macro province-wide average class might be in line with the research, this doesn't necessarily mean that this average is reflected across all schools in, for example, in areas densely populated as the GTA, compared to rural Ontario where hundreds of schools are currently at less than half capacity. If the Ford government wants to reduce funding, they must ensure that the funds that are available are allocated in the most effective way possible. In other words, allocated according to population density so that every public school in Ontario has class sizes that are as close to the average as possible. If the cuts are spread evenly across the board, this will hurt a lot of students in already crowded classrooms. So what can the Ontario government do instead? Well, they could help underfunded schools in the province's largest city by amending some of the antiquated regulations in the Education Act that prevents the Toronto District School Board from receiving funding to expand overcrowded schools. This issue has been raised many times by the Toronto District School Board, but there doesn't really seem to be progress. So according to the Education Act, school boards are entitled to collect what are called education development charges from real estate developers whenever they construct new residential units in the area. However, the current regulations only allow EDCs to be allocated to schools which are considered over capacity. And capacity, like everything else, is measured at the school district level. Now, because capacity is calculated at the district level, this means that although there are many schools in the GTA running on 110 capacity, it may shock many in the GTA to find that on paper, the Toronto District School Board is actually under capacity, with nearly 35,000 elementary and 21,000 high school spots open across the district. And because of this silly regulation that requires the entire district to be over capacity, the TDSB, the fastest growing school board, are not entitled to education development charges from developers. Meanwhile, the Toronto Catholic School Board has received millions from development charges, but they aren't the ones that really need it, and I find that absolutely ridiculous. Now, according to estimate based upon the rates charged by the Toronto Catholic District School Board, the TDSB could generate revenue of approximately $390 million in 15 years. So the Public School Board has now requested a judicial review, arguing that the regulation is unfair and it be declared constitutionally inoperative, which I absolutely agree with. The Ontario government should certainly step in to help out. Now, like I said earlier, the cuts to the number of teachers across the province is not the core issue here. The real issue is reallocating funding, teachers, and capabilities to where the population is concentrated. The marginal increases in class sizes that the PCs are proposing are not outlandish or insane, but they must take into consideration that province-wide averages aren't always reflected at the local level, and they should make it possible for schools to take advantage of EDCs, which are a great way to get schools some extra money without increasing the budget.